A few cycles today that I'd like to talk about, a few relevant interdependent cycles that we're currently living under right now that are affecting everything on the planet. We have a 20-year cycle that is a Taurus cycle that started in the year 2000. It goes to the year 2020 that I want to touch on. Also a cycle that started this year in the year 2010 that goes through 2017, which is the fire cycle. The activation of the fire cycle is what I call it. We're also under a peace cycle that goes from the year 2010 out through 2012, fall of 2012, which is a critical piece for us right now with what's happening with the world and internationally. And also this focus on 2012, I'd like to touch on that also today, just briefly. And that also fits with with our current cycles. With astrology, with long-term cycles, we look at the most dominant cycle first. The most dominant cycle right now that we're under is a time cycle that affects mass consciousness that switched over in the year 2000 that goes out through 2020. That Taurus cycle, that the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn was in the sign of Taurus in the year 2000. That process of that conjunction and that time marker for those 20 years reflected a change in human psychology on the planet for the next 20 years. And it was gradual at first. It's a change in the economy, a change in the use of the Earth's resources, a change in sustainability, the way we're approaching the planet, and a change in what we value and what we spend our money and our time on. And looking back to, if we just kind of take a long-term view with cycles from the year 2000 with Taurus up to the year 2010, we're at the tipping point of this cycle right now, the turning point, which is a 10-year point, and it's a critical point in our long-term evolution where the man on the street, the woman on the street is getting what this Taurus cycle is teaching us. So we have issues with the economy, which seems to be contracting, but it's actually, what's actually happening is that our values are changing with how we're spending our money, our time, and our resources. By the time that we get to 2020, our spending patterns will be very different, completely different on what we're spending money on, how we're spending them. We're going to ask ourselves, is what I'm about to spend my money on in alignment with my value system, not programmed? We're breaking programming with media programming, with marketing programming, not that there's anything wrong with media marketing, but we're breaking programming with that, and we're getting back to individual choices with actually making our purchases. The actual, on the economic side, that's a realignment of the economy for a long-term, more sustainable process that has to do with tangible back valuables in the tangibles in the economy that are not paper assets, these electronic kind of assets that are overinflated. We've all seen that, but we're right at the tipping point of that, where everybody collectively is going into that modality. It's not a fear process; it's actually a learning process. So we're also learning something about fear, to stay out of fear as this is going on from an economic standpoint. From an Earth standpoint, what is happening in this 20-year cycle is we're getting back into harmonics that have to do with sustainability with the planet and with usage with the planet, which our ancestors, Aboriginal societies from the past, they called it common sense. What's that? What's the Taurus common sense part of the cycle? I don't take from the earth more than I can use as an individual, or for me, for my family, for my community, for my tribe. And if I do take something, which we have to do to live, the earth is here to use, the Taurus ancient knowledge of that is if I take it, I have to give something back. So if I take one tree, I replace the tree or two trees. If I take 100 fish from the sea with a fishing business, I replace it with 100 fish or 200 fish. I invest money, time, resources, energy in giving back. There's a lot of businesses that are going to come up. There are going to be new businesses that are positioning themselves to give back. That's a part of what we're learning. That's a part of what we've lost, and also in the ancient traditions that just used to be common sense. So we have a chemical process that's happening starting in 2010 in the sun that goes out through 2017 that results in more activity from the sun and new patterning with the activity of the sun, which is actually healthy for us, but we don't know that yet. So we're talking about the fire cycle. The fire cycle that started in 2010, that goes through 2017. That fire is in the elements of creation. Fire is a cleansing agent. It's very efficient at cleansing. People fear fire, but fire is a cleansing agent. It's something that we work with. We have to have it. So from 2010 to 2017, the surface of the planet in certain places will be cleansed by fire, locally, regionally, that have been toxic previously through past historical cycles that need to be cleansed. Whether that's a fear event or just a natural event, if a part of a forest catches on fire, new growth comes up, it's a healthy process, it's part of life. So it's nothing actually to be feared if we understand what's happening. But you'll hear people saying, why are all these fires starting up all of a sudden all over the place? Well, that's what we're in. So it's cleansing. Just remember that is a cleansing process of those specific areas, just like acupuncture. Internally within the Earth, the magma of the planet is being activated right now, which magma is always on, but the activation in a new way results in shifting with some of the tectonic plates where we have to get back in balance with some of the areas, and also it gets into a little additional earthquake activity that is magma related or magma generated, and that process is also one that we'll look at and say, well, why are we having all these deep quakes, and why what's happening with that? That's also a cycle cleansing process with internally with the planet. Individually, our desire nature wakes up. Our passion nature wakes up. Not because it's a slogan that's been somewhere, but because it's actually happening. So as your passion wakes up, what happens? You start asking yourself, what am I going to do that I'm passionate about? I have this thing that I've been thinking about that all of a sudden I want to do. I have this new thing that just came up that all of a sudden I want to do. I want to go after. I want to accomplish. Should I go after that? Is that real? Is that a fantasy? Can I do it? All these people are telling me no, I can't do it. No, I can't do it. You can't do it. You don't have the skills. You don't have the abilities. You don't have enough resources. You can't do it. The fire cycle has a problem with that. Personally, the fire cycle personally says you have to do it. Okay? You have to do it. You have to go for it. So this is where people are learning to respect each other's boundaries. It'll affect things with relationships as a new desire starts to come up with one person. The other person in relationship has seen them a certain way long term, and they'll say, when did you start changing on me? Well, now. And still the same person, so please honor me and love me for being the same person, but in changing. Which means the other person is going to be changing also, so we have to honor them. And so this issue of passion is turning on. The desire nature. Some spiritual philosophy have a problem with desire nature, but actually it's a part of our essence that comes up, that gets activated in terms of where we're going to move. It's being activated with countries, companies, and with people, and of course with the planet. So there's a lot more heat in this 7-year cycle that we have to deal with. Internal personal heat and external heat that we're going to deal with. It's all good in terms of the healing process and what we're actually building with that, what we're creating with that. Don't let people discourage you from what you want to go for now. It's not just a faint inner voice, it's a real directional signal.